What's up guys, Jerome here from the Bonsai Supply, and today we are going to repot this super cool hackberry from its pre-bonsai container into its final bonsai container. Alright, so this hackberry was collected 2 years ago and has been since in this pot and was allowed to freely grow to regain strength and vigor. What is really cool about this specific hackberry is that it has a natural, really cool root spread that had occurred when it was grown in the field, which is really unusual to find such a nice field-grown tree that has such a nice root spread and doesn't have any scars on the trunk anywhere. The only two sections that I do need to fix is this one and this one up here, which were the first cuts that were made when this tree was collected. So these were the main trunks that were then cut back, and then the tree was collected, and then it was put into this pot, and these new leaders were allowed to grow out. So I have to go ahead and take care of these dead sections first, and I'm just going to take a regular Dremel and just carve these down, and then I'm going to seal them, and I'm trying to make this look as natural as possible so that when these two sections heal over, that it will look like that this tree had been a bonsai forever. Now, hackberries are deciduous trees, and what's cool about them is that you can grow them really anywhere in the country. So you can grow them if you're in a tropical climate, or you can grow them if you're in really any other climate as well. So they are quite hardy trees. They're super cool. They do lose the leaves in the fall, hence they are deciduous trees. They put on quite a fall show, and the leaves turn yellow. So now we're going to go ahead and start off with taking care of these two sections, and then we're going to go ahead and talk about repotting. So let's get to it. So if you paid attention, I pasted this bottom cut with a putty and the top one with a liquid cut paste. Both are cut paste, both work really well. I have always used this orange cut paste. What this one does, it is kind of like a toothpaste. It is very easy to apply, and then it dries and it kind of looks orange for a day or two, but then it turns translucent. Well, on the other hand, this gray putty over here kind of blends in with the tree. Now, I've been using this cut paste for about 10 years and it's really worked well for me. Today I'm going to try this one. It has been recommended to me that this cut paste putty works better on deciduous trees, so I thought what better way to make a test than on the same trees to have two of the exact same cuts, size-wise and as well as shape-wise. They're fairly identical, so therefore I thought this would be a good way to see which one is better. Hopefully my liquid one holds up to the test. So this is a really good time to go ahead now and also go ahead and repot. And by the way, I did these carvings before I was going to repot because right now this pot here is fairly filled with roots and a tree has been established in this pot, so therefore I know it is safe. If I rock it back and forth, there's not going to be a lot of damage. But once I go ahead and rake out the roots and maybe do some root cuts down there and then pot it into its new home, it's not quite established yet in the new pot and the new soil, so therefore I want to do all the heavy work in this pot and then do all the other work. Well, actually don't do any work after it's repotted. Just do some simple wiring which I won't do today to begin with. Now, as you can see, the tree is already budding out, so typically I would say that this would be a little late to repot a deciduous tree if the leaves are already fully out. But here's a couple of things that you need to understand. Number one, this tree came from Florida 2 weeks ago, and in Florida it was already 70 to 80 degrees, so it started pushing, and then it came up here to Georgia where it's a little cooler, so I had to wait an extra 2 weeks to get out of the freezing temperatures. Now, with mainly all deciduous trees, you can start to repot when the temperatures at night are above freezing, so around 35 to 40 degrees. That's when you can go ahead and start to repot. And normally what I look for is just when they start to bud. That's when I want to go ahead and repot them. Now, however, on Japanese maples, I wait until the new buds have really pushed and have almost opened already. So once they start to open the leaves, the buds, that's when I go ahead and repot those trees, the Japanese maples. But all the other deciduous trees, you can go ahead and repot even if you don't see any buds or even if they don't have leaves yet. So I just keep that for the Japanese maples. Now, if we look at the front of this tree here, which is probably going to be somewhere around here, which has the most, which has the nicest root flare, from what I can tell, until of course we dig into the soil. But as you can see, there's a root that goes off to the side. So we have to take a look at that root once we lift it out, and we might have to cut that root because it is not very appealing. As you look at the tree, you want to have a root spread going like this, and that root is going from the trunk out and it is going really hard to the left. So this one really kind of disturbs my eye when I look at this tree. So therefore I think I am going to remove this tree, but first let's lift it out, rake out some of the old soil. And now this is when I first repot a tree from pre-bonsai into bonsai pot, and I introduce it into new soil, our all-purpose bonsai soil mix. Then the first thing I'm going to do is I try to leave a good amount of the old root ball and the old soil, usually about 20 to 30%. Now that changes, of course, depending on what we're going to find down here. But I try to leave about 20% of the old root ball, fill the pot in with fresh bonsai soil so that the tree can then introduce itself to the new soil at its own pace and it's not going to get shocked. And then in about 2 years, when I repot this tree again, I can then take it out and remove the remainder of this black soil that's not really good for bonsai, and then just fill it out with 100% of good bonsai soil. So let's go ahead, let's lift this tree out and let's start repotting. Alright, so it looks like I'm not going to be able to keep any of this black soil like I hoped. I usually like to keep, like I said, 20 to 30%, but since this root ball, as soon as I started to untangle it, all of this soil started to fall out, and basically I lost already the 20 to 30% that I wanted to keep. So I might as well go ahead and wash it all out. This is a very forgiving, strong growing species, so I don't have to worry about that, but it's good practice to always leave about 20 to 30% of it. So as you can see, when this tree was collected, these roots here were just completely flush cut, as you can see, but it's already sprouting new roots. The same over here. When it was collected, this was flush cut, but it's already pushing new roots here. So this section here was quite difficult to get rid of because this thick root had already fused with this one, but I had to remove it because it was just aesthetically not very pleasing. However, once I fill in the soil, I'm going to be able to pull this root down a little bit, and as this root starts to thicken, I'm going to have a nicer piece that's going to come out this way, and I'm going to have an overall nicer spread. Now over here, if you can see this root right in here, this root is spreading way too far over here to the front, which is going to stop me from actually positioning the tree properly in the pot. So therefore, I'm going to take my saw and just cut right through this. All right, so I've had a lot of success in the past where you take long roots like this that are just too long, and you cut them into this V section here, and then put some rooting hormone on the edges here. You will usually get new roots out of here, and then we can start to split them instead of grafting them right away. So I'm going to cover this up in the soil completely, and then hopefully next time I repot this tree, I'll have some nice roots that I can then nicely place. And so now this tree is ready. The places that I want this to root, I'll put rooting hormones. And the section like this one down here, I put the cut paste to seal them and from preventing water to get in here and start to rot this section out. So now we're going to go ahead and pot this tree. Alright, so the tree is finally potted, and to be honest with you, this took a really long time, a lot longer than I had anticipated. The roots were a hot mess. They were all tangled and they were all really thick, and I had to cut them out, and that took a really long time. But however, I am very happy with the end result, and I like the way that it's potted. I like the root flare a lot. I like that this root here was fixed. These two roots were brought up a little bit so that we can get a nicer root flare here in the future. I also reduced the roots over here and here and in the back, which also looks a lot more proportional now. This pot right here is a beautiful Xijing Chinese pot, which I think goes really well with the tree. The gray almost is the same as in the trunk, and then you have that little brown in the gray, which is kind of is a nice touch. So I do like that a lot. And if you notice, so if you look at it from the front, you notice that on the top there was kind of like, it turned into like sort of like a twin trunk, if you will, a lot higher up. And so this is my personal preference. What you want to do when you have a twin trunk or a situation like this where the tree splits, push one section a little further to the back, bring the other section a little more to the front, and that creates depth back here. And also it doesn't look like you're looking at a large U or a large peace sign up here. So therefore, push one side to the slightly to the back and the other one slightly to the front. It just creates a little more character as well as depth. So now I'm going to go ahead and water this tree thoroughly, and then I'm going to put it right back out into full sun. And this tree should be completely leafed out in about 2 weeks time. Please let me know what you guys think, which one of these cuts is going to heal faster, the cut paste one that I always do or the putty one. I'm curious to see what you guys use and what your preferred method is and which one you think that is going to win. Also let me know how you guys think I did on this new Hackberry that I acquired for my personal collection, and I will catch you guys next time. All right.